What's up, everybody? It's Frederick Douglass Bussey. Today, we're talking about why marketing without sales is useless. Hey, let's talk about the vice versa, too. All right, let's go to work. If you are running a business, and when I'm talking to entrepreneurs, you ask them one of the biggest challenges that they're facing, and they're talking about their marketing. Marketing isn't working. We're just not getting enough clients or customers. People are not buying enough. And so oftentimes we feel like we need more people, and that's going to solve the problem, right? So if I had more clients, I had more customers, I had more sales calls, if I had more visits to the website, et cetera, I could get more clients, right? And so they're looking at the problem from one end and say it's got to be about the marketing. One problem, one aspect of business that people don't like to focus on is the sales. I know this because I used to believe the same thing. When I was a partner in a PR firm, one of the things that we talked about as partners was that, well, we would create a commission structure where we could benefit from bringing in new clients. But I didn't like to focus on that because I felt like I'm not a salesman. That's something that my other partners could do better. I would just focus on the marketing and the shiny stuff, the creative aspect of it, because I felt like that's where I shined, right? And so being creative was something that I love to do. Sales was something I saw as something that I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to fool with that. And so what I started doing was, over time, as I left the PR firm and started my own marketing agency and started realizing the necessity of that, right? I hired a sales coach and started learning that process. And so over the years, I had to do hundreds and hundreds of sales calls to be able to bring in more clients. And one of the things that I learned was that there's a relationship between marketing and sales, and that marketing without sales is useless. It's useless because if you do not understand the sales process, then it doesn't matter how great your marketing is, you can't close the deal. You're not going to be able to bring in the revenue. Now, the reason why they're related and why it's so important to know this is because when it comes to the sales aspect of it, salespeople and marketing people, your sales team and your marketing team typically don't speak the same language because they see each other as necessary evils. And so they're kind of bouncing off of or butting heads. So marketing will say, well, sales, you're supposed to close all the leads we're sending you. And sales will say, well, you're supposed to send us better leads, right? And so part of that process is that there's a disconnect between the two. Today, we're going to talk a little bit more about the sales aspect of it, but I want to talk about it from the marketing lens so you understand how marketing feeds into sales and sales' real perspective of that, right? So when we're talking about marketing and we're talking about sales, marketing's job is to tell the story, right? And sales' job is to close the deal. But in reality, one of the biggest challenges, one of the biggest reasons why people don't understand marketing and sales in the relationship is because they don't really understand their real roles, right? When we talk about story and marketing, people love to talk about story. Like, storytelling is great. You got to be able to tell a story, right? But the storytelling is there for a reason. And the reason that you have the storytelling is because you want to be able to position your client, your customer, in a way in their mind, and position your business, your product, your sales, your service, whatever it is that you're selling. You want to be able to position that in a powerful way so that they are more likely to buy, right? And so what you're doing is the marketing is creating an invitation, and the sales process is extending that invitation, right? And so the invitation is to get the outcome that they want. So if you look at it this way, Disney is a great marketing tool for all the things that they sell, right? Disney is a marketing tool for the story that they tell. But sales is about how do we get people to actually want to buy. And so that process of closing the deal says, what am I going to get out of this? And what is it that Disney is really selling? One of the biggest pieces that's missing when it comes to sales and marketing is that you're not really understanding what it is that you're selling, right? So I love to talk about Disney. Let's actually draw the mouse ears here, right? So That's roughly. Hopefully that's not copyright infringement, right? But you've got the mouse. And what most people are doing is, in marketing, they are telling a story about the mouse, right? And what most people are trying to do is they're trying to sell the mouse. The reason why it doesn't work is because the mouse is not what people are buying. The mouse only represents what people are buying. What people are buying is what the mouse gets them. What people are buying is what Disney is selling, right? And so in some ways they are actually selling this story, but the story is not about the mouse. The story is about family. It's about magic. It's about memories. And all of these things equal I'm a good parent. So when you are selling this story, right, and I'm taking my kids and I'm spending $10,000 to go to Disney for 4 or 5 days and to stay in the hotel and to ride all the rides, to come away with all the merch and stuff I can barely fit on the plane or back in the car when I'm driving back home. It's because what we're doing is we are creating something that is infinitely more valuable than just the mouse. What we're selling is the ability to memories, the ability to be able to have a great family, magical moment, magical memories, and those things translate into being a good parent. Because I'm a good parent, I was able to provide this experience for my child, right? And so now what you do is when you go back home, all the Disney movies, all the Disney songs, all those things that happen, those things only reinforce that and become a stronger bond and a stronger reinforcement. So in actuality, the story sold the experience, which meant that you bought the deal because this is what you wanted. And you closed the deal because these are the things that you wanted. And now this actually, the experience itself sells the story again. And so the cycle continues. Right? Now, the reason why you need to close the deal, right, why it's so important is because if you don't, then you can't continue this cycle. And so people will only be stuck here in your story. Now, this goes deeper into branding and all those other things like that. But in reality, if you really want to talk about it, the branding actually happens here, right? And so this is why the mouse matters, because now it's where this is kind of sealing the deal. It's what it represents to people. But they can't get that experience until they actually buy. And so what is it that you're selling in your business? What is it that you are closing the deal with? Right? The story is supposed to get people there. There's a great book by Michael Cialdini called Persuasion, which talks about this entire process, how people think psychologically and why they are leaning into any particular business, any particular sales decision. So one of the things that happens is what we do is we create a combative situation in the sales process, and it actually counteracts the story. And I'll talk about that quickly, and then we'll get out of here, right? So one of the things that people have when it comes to sales is a very negative feeling. And part of that negative feeling is because it feels like a combative process. Because again, if you're telling me a story, right? And the sales process is designed to get me a certain outcome, right? So we'll put this over here just because I run out of space. But the sales process actually stands between me and the outcome that you told me in the story, right? Then what you're doing is you're creating a barrier between me and the outcome that I want. And this is where we talking about objections and things of that nature and all that stuff or whatever. And let me know in the comments if you're watching this a replay, you're watching this live, whatever, LinkedIn, Facebook. Let me know if this is clear to you, because I want to make sure it's as valuable as possible. But in reality, ultimately, because people only focus on marketing and storytelling, and because the story is only about them, so if it's only about your product or your service versus your client or customer, this equals that barrier there. Because now when you try and get them into the sales process, what happens is they are at odds with the marketing. They're at odds with the story. Because if the story is about this and not about them, then it doesn't get them the outcome, right? And so the reason why you need to why marketing is useless without sales is because sales needs to support the marketing process, not combat it. And so if your marketing is not leading people to this natural outcome because you're telling the story of your client, your customer, then the sales is going to be about who? It's going to be about your product or your service. Therefore, you're actually not focused on the story. It needs to be a continuing process and not a halt in it and not an interruption. You need to be able to tell a continuous story that allows people to feel like it's part of a seamless process, right? It's about the story that you were telling, and now I can step into that story and actually achieve the thing that I want. And when the more powerfully you can do that, the more powerful your sales process can be. The other aspect of that is the sales process, and we'll talk about that in another video, needs to be more collaborative, right? And so when you're collaborating and becoming a part of that story and that experience, right? Now, everything that you're doing in the Disney park is just a continuation or extension of that process. You're continuing to extend that invitation to be able to build on the thing that you were buying in the very first place. Whatever that story is, whatever that thing is that you're so focused on being able to achieve. All right. So let me know in the comments, whether you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, let me know in the comments if this is valuable for you, if it's been helpful for you, and what you're discovering in this whole process. Is your sales process actually supporting the marketing, or is your marketing process actually inhibiting your sales? Where do you see the gap could be? And if you'd like support in that, send me a message, a DM, any of these platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, and let me know how we might be able to support you. Let's have a conversation to see about moving forward in that regard. Other than that, I'm glad you were here. If you stopped by for a second or for a minute, I appreciate you. Let me know where you're watching this from. Let me know if this has been valuable for you. All right. As always, it's Frederick Douglass Bussey, ever forward.